Are you looking to get into podcasting? If so, this is a video you're going to want to watch from start to finish. This is an in-hand review of everything you see here on my desk. I'm going to start with some things that I love and are working great, and I'm also going to talk about some things that I couldn't get to work, and I'm going to talk about some next purchases I'm going to make. So let's get into it, starting out with the first purchase I made for podcasting, which was my RØDECaster Pro II, along with the Shure SM7B microphone. These two items take care of my audio, and man, do they sound fantastic. I will make a separate video showing that off, but just trust me when I say this combination sounds great, works right out of the box, and does everything I had hoped for and more. So very happy with that purchase. The next purchase was my 4K Logitech camera. This is a sticker, by the way, so I can remember, because I have another one that's 1080p that I'm actually trying to sell. So I am very happy with this. It doesn't do nearly as much, obviously, as my cell phone or my Sony ZV-E10, but just as a secondary camera for if I'm DJing or something, something to like look at my hands or whatnot, this works fabulously. I just had to make sure in OBS, which I'm using for the process of recording and live streaming, that I set up the camera in OBS as a 4K camera, because it defaulted to very low resolution, and at first I was like, oh no, but then I fixed that and now it looks fantastic. So far, home run with the audio, home run with this camera, and also this camera. Holy cow, I don't think I've ever been happier with a camera purchase than I am with the Sony ZV-E10. This is a 4K camera that is specifically designed for video blogging and podcasting and YouTubers, and it just looks so good. It has all kinds of features. Now, I'm not a professional camera guy. I'm just kind of getting into this, so I'm not the one who should give you the super in-depth on this. There's tons of videos on it, but basically I watch tons of YouTube experts talk about what the best camera is for beginners getting started with podcasting and video blogging, and this was the recommendation, and I'm so glad I got it, because right out of the box I just plugged it into my computer via the USB-C port on the side, and it worked. Now, I will say there is one issue with OBS, which is that there is a certain amount of latency. So latency means like drag, or like it takes a little longer for the video signal to come from this camera to OBS than it takes for the webcam. But OBS actually has two solutions to solve that problem. There are ways of going into OBS and telling OBS to delay the signal from a given camera. So you kind of use your slowest camera, which in my case is this. It's not that it's slow, it's just that by the time the signal reaches my computer, it's delayed. So I tell OBS that like the time that every other camera should arrive will need to match the slowest camera, which is this one. But with that in mind, everything can work out great for your live streaming, aside from, maybe a 200 millisecond delay. So the next thing I wanted to bring to your attention are the things that didn't work out so well for me. So I already had a Canon EOS 6D, which is kind of like a prosumer kind of DSLR camera. And then I borrowed from my godfather what used to be the king of prosumer DV cams, the Canon XL H1A. And in theory, I was going to convert the signal out of these two cameras and save a bunch of money by using them as my secondary and third camera for podcasting. Long story short, it didn't work out, and here's why. First, what did work, I bought a dummy battery from Go9. So the dummy battery would allow my Canon camera to stay on. So the battery, instead of a battery that can run out of juice, you just plug this dummy battery into the wall and put it into your camera. This worked great. No complaints there. Then I bought this HDMI mini to HDMI cable, so I could take the feed out of this camera and feed it into the Camlink 4K by Elgato. Unfortunately, it didn't work. And the deal with this is probably nothing wrong with Camlink 4K. You definitely want to research when you're buying this whether your camera can send a clean HDMI signal out of the camera without any limitations or issues. It turns out that Canon wants money if you want to do this. So they have like a paid app, but even the people who use the paid app still seem to be unhappy with the performance and are having issues with this setup. So what I opted to do is put this on eBay. And I am so happy I did, because hopefully I can get enough money from this camera plus the lenses and accessories that I have to buy another one of these, which I'm so happy with because, as I mentioned before, this was just plug and play. Plugged in my computer, got a beautiful 4K image, and it just worked, and it made me happy. And I spent a lot of time and energy just kind of down the drain on trying to make this work with the Camlink. And again, it's not the Camlink's fault. It's my fault for buying an older camera that just doesn't really support what I needed. Another issue, even if I had gotten it to work, is that this is only a 1080p camera, as is this, which back in the day, HD was a big deal. That was like cutting edge. But now, and this is why, cameras are just, they depreciate so fast because the technology just gets better and better every year. And as soon as there's a higher resolution standard, then your old stuff is kind of just junk. So I will be selling the Canon camera and buying another Sony camera because I was really happy with this purchase. The last thing I'll mention on this video is the Stream Deck. So this was another thing that YouTubers were raving about. So I went ahead and bought this, and either I got a defective unit or there's some issue, or I just I'm not troubleshooting it properly. But I gotta say, I read a lot of Reddit things about how to make the Stream Deck work. I read the instructions. I followed everything to the best of my ability, and I just kept getting an error message from OBS saying that the Stream Deck was not connected. So in OBS, I'll just show you, there's like under Tools, there's a thing called Elgato Stream Deck, and you can click it and it says not connected, but just trust me on this. I actually made a separate video of this. When this is plugged in and when the Stream Deck software is turned on, I'm still getting the same error message, and it just pressed the buttons, nothing happened. I really like things that are plug and play. I'm fairly technical, but I really don't like to spend hours trying to troubleshoot something that is not like the heart and soul of my operation. Like this was kind of like something to make my life a little easier, so I didn't have to use the keyboard and mouse to change scenes and change cameras. So I thought this was cool because the buttons are quieter and you can actually put the logos on the buttons, but at least in my case, it didn't work. So I would say, if you're on the fence about getting a Camlink or a Steam Deck, either do your research to find out if it's going to work for you based on what you find on the internet, or, just try it out. And if it doesn't work, ship it back. Now, I hate returning stuff, so I generally do my research. And I just assumed that because YouTubers were raving about these two things that they were going to work great, but they didn't. But everything else here did. So once again, to wrap it up, things that I'm very happy with purchasing. Number one, the Sony ZV-E10 4K camera works fantastic for my video. I'm also happy with the Logi by Logitech. This is a 4K camera with pretty solid image quality. You can't do things like zooming in or out, but it just does what it's supposed to do and does it well enough that I'm happy with it. So my RODECaster, as I said, is awesome. My Shure SM7B is awesome. I also have this, what is it? This is a key light by Elgato that I'm really happy with. I'm also really happy with these stands. I bought 4 of them and put all my stuff on them. Here's my other camera that I'm going to sell, actually, because this one's 1080p. And I just I want to make sure that my whole setup is 4K so that everything matches. I mean, ideally you would be using the same camera or at least similar models from the same brand so that not only does the resolution match, but the vibe of the image is consistent, because that's definitely not the case. Like when comparing the Sony camera to this webcam, you can tell that this is a webcam and not a higher end camera. But ultimately, I'm happy with my progress so far, guys. I definitely recommend, if you have a bunch of older gear like this, if you're not super technical, I just recommend selling that stuff as soon as you can on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, eBay, Amazon, wherever you have a seller account, and buying yourself something like this so that you can just stay with the latest technology and not have to spend a whole bunch of time fussing with stuff. I also almost bought the Blackmagic ATEM Mini ISO, and I'm really glad I didn't, because had I bought that, I would have had to ship it back too, because I don't need it for my webcam. I don't need it for my Sony ZV-E10. I would have needed it for these two cameras, but first of all, the resolution is 1080p and not 4K, and second of all, I couldn't even get them to work with the